everyone. It's Terrence Branley with the Grow IT podcast, and today I'm grateful to have Kerry Boudreaux. Did I say that correctly, Kerry?
You did say that.
Did I nail it?
You paid attention in French class, Terrence.
I did, barely, just enough to get by. Whatever it takes. Kerry's the Senior Vice President of Sales at FourthSquare, and we're going to learn a lot about their offering today. I think you consider yourselves to be like kind of a boutique consulting firm. I know you're an Oracle partner. It's probably a big piece that we'll talk about today, but I'm grateful to have you on, and let's jump in.
Absolutely. And you're exactly right. We are a boutique firm, and we consider ourselves a boutique firm, not only in size, but really in scope of services and the target market that we have, Terrence.
Good. Well, let's dive into that. So before we do that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, your journey to FourthSquare, and how you got where you are today.
Absolutely. So thank you for having me first, Terrence. And yeah, I mean, I started my sales career, or started actually my career in sales. I had a college professor saying, Kerry, if you really want to make the good money, you either have to build it or sell it. And with my personality, I was like, I don't want to be taking the same pig trail to work every day. I'm going to get into sales. So that's what I did. And I was actually in sporting goods sales, and then moved over to tech, legal tech with Thomson Reuters, online legal research, and then practice management software, e-discovery software, and did that for 17 years with Thomson Reuters, and then moved over to Oracle back in 2017, and went to work for Oracle in their application sales team. And this is when they were moving, Terrence, moving from legacy solutions into the cloud solutions. So they call it the Oracle Fusion product line, and selling ERP, HCM, supply chain, EPM, all of those back office business solutions that an organization needs. And then I was there for a couple of years, and then an opportunity came up with a company called Acela. They're land management, licensing, permitting, code enforcement, and really wanted to grow my breadth of knowledge, selling into GovTech, selling into government agencies. And so I spent a couple of years over there, and then a good friend of mine, and who I had met while I was at Oracle, he and I reconnected in 21, and he was actually launching his own consulting firm, which is FourthSquare. I was employee number 3, so we literally.
How many you wore a lot of hats? I know what that means.
I wore a lot of hats. I got the go-to-market strategy, laid all that out. We literally, when you say you go to work for a startup company, Terrence, I literally went to work for a startup company. I actually played a role in naming the company, getting the corporate vision statement, mission statement, goals, and we actually did all of that together. And so when I say I went to work for a startup company, we started it up together. So, and here we are 3 years later. We want to be doing $100 million by 2028, and we are on track to do that. So we're just super excited with our success and where we're going.
That is amazing. I've started up multiple companies, and you can't get to where you're going without really good people. So that says a lot about you to be the number 3 person in that organization. And it's fun, right? You mentioned earlier in your conversation, your professor told you to, either build or sell. And you probably got your sales experience. We're like, okay, let's take it over into the build side, because essentially as a number 3, you were on the build side.
Absolutely, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of scary moments, and we don't always agree. And I forget who said it. If everybody agrees, then nothing's getting done. So there's got to be some disagreements, and we've certainly had our share here at FourthSquare, but they've been professional, and we have all come together, and we're all singing from the same hymnal and just making things happen. So I couldn't be more proud.
And that comes with growth and passion, right? And you have to have both. So, why
Absolutely.
don't we talk a little bit? So, you mentioned, obviously, you guys are an Oracle partner. You mentioned the public sector and government. Is that primarily the types of prospects and clients that you're working with? Maybe talk a little bit about what are the problems that they're trying to solve, if that is in fact your target market.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we are strategic. We are strategically focused for public sector, local government, cities, counties, municipalities. Now, with that being said, we do have commercial accounts, and we will work with a commercial account. If there's a referral by word of mouth, but right now we're not strategically going after the commercial market. That's not saying that we won't do that. As a matter of fact, if we're going to get to that $100 million number, we're going to have to go after the commercial segment. But in the IT world, Terrence, especially with Oracle, whether it's Oracle, Salesforce, SAP, Microsoft, Workday, whoever you're working with, they are very strategically aligned with each vertical. Now, what each vertical, it could be automotive, it could be packaged goods, it could be fintech, it could be transportation and logistics. So they have sales teams that are dedicated to each vertical. And you, as a partner, whether you're a partner with Oracle, SAP, it doesn't matter. You have to be strategically aligned and strategically to go after each one of those verticals. And that takes a lot of energy, that takes a lot of people, and it takes a huge, huge investment. And, right now, over the last 3 years, we chose, because of our experience and our background that we have, to focus on public sector and local government in particular. So when we say a boutique firm, like I said before, when we opened up the podcast, we're boutique because we are public sector, and even narrower, more boutique-ish, if that's a word. We are, on local government, cities, counties, municipalities, and special districts like K-12 transit authorities. So
You got it. You mentioned something just right now, and I want to kind of pick up on it, and that is, that the alignment with, let's say, a channel partner like an Oracle, right? And not only that, within each group that is under that, it's specific to manufacturing, logistics, whatever it may be, and the time and resources you put into it. And I think it's important, and I want to hear your take on it, because so often, IT, consulting firms, they want to reap the rewards of having a channel partner like that, but it isn't just like they're going to float leads down to you or float deal flow down to you. You've got to really make kind of that effort to almost show more of an interest than maybe even some folks in their own groups are. And I guess I want you to kind of touch on that, just because it always seems to come up with folks I talk with. And I want to hear what you guys did that was successful in that. When you talk about having to put a lot of time, resources into it, go into a little bit more detail on that.
yeah, so I'm going to go back to when I was in the Oracle seat and working with multiple partners. So I was an Oracle account executive, right? And I was working with multiple partners. And these partners, what frustrated me about partners is they would say, let's set up a monthly cadence call. Let's just get together okay, let's do that. We'd set up a monthly cadence call, and they would say, all right, Kerry, what kind of projects have you found that we can work together? Well, I found this one, and this one. And then I'd say, okay, partner, Acme Corp, what have you found? Well, we haven't found anything. And I was like, okay, well, this is a two-way street. So when I joined a partner, I was like, I want to be bringing deals to my Oracle sales team. That's the value that I bring to the table, because building sales funnel is the number one priority for a sales rep, right? Anybody in sales,
100%.
you have to be building that sales pipeline. So if I, as a partner, can help that Oracle sales rep build his pipeline, yes, I mean that's just gold. As they said, that's gold, Jerry.
Seinfeld reference. I like it.
There we go. Let's see who gets that reference, right? So it is. I mean, it's gold, and that's an immediate bond that you can build with that sales rep, and that account executive, for whatever organization that you're aligned with. So that's number one. And how do we do that? How do we get out in front of projects? Well, you go to conferences. You use your network. You use your own Rolodex to make phone calls saying, hey, you've got to be building and bringing projects, to your account executives. And that's how you build those relationships. Because if you bring projects to them, guess what? They're going to start bringing projects to you. So
I'm going to frame this section of our podcast because it's so much what we talk about. It's kind of one of our parts of our offering, because we'll have, clients that'll say, great, we want to be able to find direct deals, but we want to be able to develop these channel partnerships. And I'm like, great. So the first thing we need to do is go out to these channel partners and say, what's in it for them? And they're like, well, no, they're the big ones. They're the $20 billion companies that we're just trying to, get the business, the leads from them. I was like, you're going about it wrong, right? We need to go and figure out what's in it for them. Because I've been a sales rep, just much like you have. We need to go out to the sales reps, right? Let's put them on podcasts. Let's put them into conversations with their ICP, right? Let's basically go to them and tell them what's being talked about in the marketplace, and let's stir up deal flow and lead flow for them. By default, that's going to solidify the relationship that you want, right? But I think so. And again, this isn't just, privy to, it goes without saying to everybody. A lot of times people are short-sighted, right, in terms of what they want. And I always, encourage people, just like, regardless of who that channel partner is, if they're a $20 billion company, if they're a $5 million company, figure out what's in it for them, help them get to where they're trying to go. And if they're not motivated, then you can move to another channel partner. But if they're motivated, you need to go and figure out what's in it for them and find a way to bring something to them before you ask for anything in return. So I applaud you and appreciate that, because it's something that oftentimes comes up. I want to talk about some of your success stories with FourthSquare with some of your clients, right? You talked about you're in the public sector, boutique, you're probably working with, cities, municipalities, counties, smaller organizations. What are some of the challenges that they are running into or that they've faced, and how did FourthSquare help them overcome those challenges or get them to wherever they're trying to go?
Yeah, so most cities and counties are somewhat of laggards when it comes to technology. Okay, so the SaaS world, SaaS software has been out there for some time. I mean, Oracle introduced, their SaaS product line, the Oracle, Fusion Cloud, back in 2016. So that's 8 years ago. Workday, they introduced theirs, came around with theirs, just shortly prior to that. So here we are 7-8 years later, and I would say somewhere north of 50% of cities and counties are still on old legacy on-prem solutions. All right. And they're old and they're antiquated. And I mean, I'm working with a major city in New York right now. It's not New York City, but a major city in New York that's on a legacy system. It's on the old AS400 green screen.
Wow.
Right? they are, in the Stone Ages. And here we are. And but that's where these agencies are. So they are very slow to change. Many of them, especially mid-size organizations, when I say mid-size, we in the tech world, we kind of calculate that as, in operating revenue, operating budgets of somewhere around that, somewhere south of 250 million dollars in operating budget is what we consider mid-size. So, but there's some very nice cities and counties and municipalities of good size with an operating budget of that, right? Some of them are 100,000 population. So anyway, they are faced with this huge challenge of being on these old legacy systems, and how do we migrate, to this new SaaS, world from a technology standpoint, from a change management standpoint, and really they're being forced to, in a number of ways. Number one, their technology isn't keeping up. It's crashing and burning. That's number one. Their IT environment is getting so complicated because of all the different technologies out there. And number three, they're struggling to hire people, IT teams, IT staff to manage their IT environment. If it's on prem, these new folks coming out of university and are like, I've only worked in the SaaS world. I have no clue what's going on with that AS 400. No clue at all. So they're struggling to find people as well. So, and then,
I've got one for you too, even with that, right? So, and you just touched on that, and there's some real important caveats or parts in there that we should talk about. And one, like the the change from going from on-prem to the cloud, number one, is a big one, right? But number two, there's a lot of technology has moved so fast. So one of our clients is in converged communications, right? And so you talk about that, that's, phones, right? So back when you and I probably started in the business world, we had landlines and you had a PBX system and all this old technology, to where now technology is advanced. There's still a need for communications. It's just advanced to the point to where no one even knows how that old, communication hardware stuff even worked. And the people that are coming, to your point, out of university are like, wait a second, all I'm used to is there's no cables attached to my phone. What are you talking about?
yeah,
Right. And so there's a lot of converging factors there. And that's just one example. I'm sure you have a bunch in yours too. Like, there's just a lot to tackle there. I mean, how are our prospects and your clients going about looking at this? Are they like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start first? Are they like, we don't even have the resources to throw at this to even try and fix it? I mean, what are their...
yeah. So they realize that's a problem, and then they all sit down and say, listen, this is a huge problem that's not going away. And we all have our day jobs. And then you want us to fix this? So where do we start? Who's going to lead? Who's going to take the lead on fixing this problem? Well, some people, when they wake up and they're like, this is not going to be an easy project. A lot of them are hiring outside consultants to come in and do gap analysis to kind of help lead them down that road. And that is money well spent. Money well spent. And so that's one of the biggest ways, that they're tackling this problem. And really, as new leadership comes into these organizations, they're like, this needs to be fixed. Some of the legacy folks that were in the organization, they were 5 years from retirement. They're like, listen, that's too big of a bear to try and wrestle.
Yes.
I'm not going to wrestle it. I'm 5 years from retirement. And excuse me, not to speak disparagingly, on government, workers, but hey, if I'm working there and I've got 5 years to retirement, do I want to undertake that and start? And I mean, these are mission critical projects. I often say that we're not delivering babies, but we're darn close. these are high pressure, high intense, you know, projects that you're taking on. I mean, when you go to replace your payroll system, paying people is pretty darn important. If people don't get paid, that's a real problem. And when you move from one payroll system to the other, you better get it right. And you are going to have some sleepless nights during that process. So, but it's got to be done. They have no choice.
And to your point, right, you're bringing up some great points, right? Because that there's an aging population in the municipals, right, and close to retirement, and you look at that saying, hey, this could be a 5 year, and is it worth it? Is it a hornet's nest that I'm going to open up, or is it not, right? Because it's like, why bring more problems onto myself at this point, at this junction in my career, right?
Yeah.
But the longer that goes, you can't. There's only so long you can keep kicking the can, right?
Yeah. But I tell you, what I have found is there are some amazing young leaders coming into work in the public sector. I mean, these young CFOs, these young CIOs, IT directors. I mean, they are absolutely they're super smart, super energetic. Um, they're innovative, and I just feel really blessed, and that's one of the reasons why I love working in GovTech is because of the talent, that the talent pool that's coming into the government sector. I mean, they are really forward thinking, and I'm just very well blessed to be able to work with some of the folks that I've been able to work with.
That's encouraging. Do you have any like success stories just off the top of your head in terms of people love success stories, right? And success is derived in a number of different ways. But are
Yeah,
there any that you can think of right at the top of your head, some success stories you'd like to talk about?
yeah, we just had one. It's actually down in the great state of Alabama, and they are. It's a combination. Uh, it's a combination of K-12
Yeah.
and manufacturing and nonprofit. So they are on an old legacy system, about 1,500 employees, and their mission is just incredible. And it's the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind. So they
I
have
wondered I'm thinking, how is K-12 and manufacturing to come together? Now it makes sense. Okay.
they have a school. They have a school from the K through 12 for individuals that are deaf and blind, and then they have a manufacturing facility. Once you graduate, you either graduate from the school, and then you can go to work there, or you don't have to go to school there to go to work. But they manufacture a lot of things for the federal government. They have a lot of federal contracts, and then they have a lot of just training programs throughout the state. I had a good friend of mine who was blind right here in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, AIDB would provide him with a free computer every 4 or 5 years. So I'd drive my friend down to Birmingham. He would go down there and stay for 2 weeks to train on this computer. And then I'd go back down there and I'd pick him up, and he would, with his computer, and he'd come back, and that's how he communicated. So somebody that's completely blind can surf the internet, do whatever he needs to do, just communicate. So great mission. And they wanted to replace their entire financial system, HR, all of their manufacturing, all of their customer service, and that's a recent project that we have been awarded, and so just super excited about that one.
That's amazing, for good cause too. Um,
Yeah,
well, so let me talk about a little bit about your growth. I mean, I love talking growth, right? Because I mean, it wouldn't be a Grow IT podcast, and it wouldn't be a Grow IT partners in my firm if I wasn't talking about growth stuff. And you've obviously experienced it, right? Going from from what 2021, where you're the number 3 guy, to having this lofty goal of getting to 100 million that you guys are on pace for. Talk about, the challenges that you have and can predict that might be coming with that type of growth, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, and and growth takes a tremendous amount of capital, and so we fortunately have been able to sustain that capital and maintain that cash flow, and this business is super expensive, and it's super expensive not because you have to go out there and buy equipment. It's super expensive because you have to hire super smart people.
People, I know.
Right? I mean, our people are that's our lifeblood is our consultants. And you have to hire, like I said, you have to hire super smart people. So as we grow, as we bring on these projects, you have to hire, more people. And how you do that strategically and make sure that you keep these projects, on time, on budget, and you're delivering those with success. And fortunately, we've been able to do that. Um, so, you know, so just fueling all of that growth from a capital standpoint has been a real challenge. Finding the business, has been somewhat of a challenge, but you know, once you, you know, once you start having some success, success follows success. Now, to get it, on that growth trajectory where we want to be, you know, we we need to do more than just word of mouth and referrals. How do you get in front of accounts and potential prospects? How do you get in front of them? Um, when you have no name recognition and you know you don't have any experience with that organization. I often say, I've worked for Thomson Reuters, Oracle, the gold standard in each of their industries. And you go out there and you put that name badge on of Oracle, and that's an immediate door opener. Okay. And you're thinking, wow, I'm a good sales rep. I got this appointment. You know, hey, try and do that when you have zero name recognition with a startup like FourthSquare, right?
Hmm?
You really find out how good of a sales organization you are, and you really have to get good at what you're doing and have a very solid approach and methodology. And I think that's, having a good sales methodology. It, you will find out if you have one when you go to work for a company that has no name recognition at all.
100%. It's interesting, right? Because our target market is, right, consulting firms that have kind of grown their business, to your point, right, with referrals, networking, and word of mouth type of deal, which is great. And then they're like, okay, how do we get in the door to all these enterprise or mid market or whatever, and it's a challenge. And I tell folks, like, at the end of the day, us being a startup ourselves and doing exactly that, getting in front of CEOs and founders and executives like yourself, right? That's part of the process. You figure out that process, that methodology, and at the end of the day, people buy from people. And if you can get into conversations, right, that's what most of us kind of want. We're like, hey, just put me into a conversation, right? If I can have a high level conversation and understand, and it might be a good fit, but at least I've now added someone to my network and a relationship, etc. But it's even becoming a more challenge today because there's so much noise, right? Your inbox as well as mine get just littered with cold outreach. It's just
Yeah.
terrible, right? I mean, just horrible. And that's a challenge. The technology has made it, has given us these great tools to use as marketers and salespeople. But of course, a lot of people use them because they're lazy, right? Or thinking, hey, it's going to do the work for me. And at the end of the day, it still comes back to the same basics that you and I came into the business world, which is establishing relationships. The only difference is using technology to accelerate, to where you and I may only meet at a conference once a year because you're in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm in Boise, Idaho. But there are ways to leverage technology to be able to get into those conversations and kind of establish relationships. But that is a big challenge. What other ones do you guys think you're going to encounter? I mean, the human capital part is a huge one, right? I mean, and we're the same. Are there any things that you look at in terms of headwinds in the economy? Are there any other challenges that you look at as well?
Yeah, right now business is good, and business is good. Particularly for us, because we are focused on public sector, and public sector has been well funded for the last 2 to 3 years, and that is because of COVID, and you had the American Rescue Plan, and then you had the that which was the ARPA funds, and then you had the CARES Act prior to that. So that was funding a lot of local government agencies, to pay for initiatives, capital improvement projects. So that money is still in the pipe. It's still sitting there. We're working with an agency right now. They got close to $50 million, and it is still sitting in the bank waiting to be spent. So, so these, so how do we, if the economy is slowing down, that could be some headwinds facing us. But I always feel like that when the economy's down in a certain sector, it's going to be up in a certain sector. And when business is slowing, there's always opportunity, in the IT field to make things more efficient, to make things more productive. And when the economy slows, hey, we got to get more efficient in this area. And in that area right now, it's being addressed with this new thing that they call artificial intelligence.
Man, it's almost like you're reading my mind in terms of what I was going to pivot to the next question, and that is right is AI. Right, it used to be like, hey, what trends do you see coming down the pike, Kerry? But let's just jump into it, right? So let's talk about that. How is that being looked at, explored, considered in public sector?
Absolutely. So Oracle is building artificial intelligence within their applications. So here's the thing, and I tell everybody this: artificial intelligence has been around for years. Generative AI, that's what's new.
Okay, so great. Let's break it down for my mom, who's probably listening to this. She's probably the only one that listens to this podcast, other than whoever you send it to. So talk about the difference between AI, large learning models, and generative AI.
Yeah. So like I said, artificial intelligence has been around for years. So remember, I spent 17 years in legal research and practice management software. So in that area, they were running with artificial intelligence long before most anybody else was. So think about an attorney sitting down to do legal research. He types in slip and fall in a Piggly Wiggly. All right, Piggly Wiggly's a grocery store out here.
I know it.
All right, so slip and fall in a Piggly Wiggly. So it's going to pull back all the back in the early days, it would pull back all the cases, the case law, and maybe the statutes that dealt with slip and fall, in a grocery store. Okay. But as artificial intelligence came about, Terrence, it would not only pull back the case law, but it would also suggest, hey, here's a brief, here's a sample complaint, here's a sample, whatever. Here are the the top expert witnesses that you could contact that deal in this area. Here's the attorneys or the judges, in your particular jurisdiction who have dealt with, and this is how they've ruled on slip and fall in grocery stores. So, and then it would give you a percentage of here are all the jury verdicts. Here's what you can expect to win off of this. Here's the percentage chance that you're going to win this case based on the facts that you've given. So that's been around for years. What's this generative AI? Now the attorney can go and say, okay, you pulled back all these things. Now write the brief for me. That's what's new. That generating documents. And and it's there is the biggest thing is in high schools and universities where the students are saying, okay, I need to write a paper on the Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg. Write a paper for me on that, and it writes it for you when they turn it in. Okay, that's generative AI, and that's what's coming along. Okay, for example, in the Oracle application, all right, write me a job description for this job that I'm getting ready to post out on our recruiting website. So literally, the Oracle application will write that job description. Okay, write me a an employee objective who is a school bus driver, and he has his performance measurement goals. I need 5 goals written for a bus driver, for a school bus driver that he's going to be measured on, or a teacher, or whatever. The application will literally go in and write, those job descriptions. So that's generative AI. So that's in the Oracle application. We at FourthSquare, we have built out our own AI tools, and we can, for invoice processing, for order processing, when companies get in orders, via email or whatever, we can process those orders without anybody touching it. Okay. Contract management, that's a huge area. These organizations have thousands of contracts that they're managing. You want to go find the 30-day out clause for Acme Corporation? Hey, we can do that within a moment's notice. So with AI. So anyway, those are some of the ways that we're leveraging AI, within public sector.
Yeah, and it is amazing. In fact, you mentioned the college student. I was on a meeting with my college student last week, helping him through a class that he's not very fond of, and I was like, "Listen, this is going to help you get you 80% of the way, right? But you're also going to learn while you're doing it." And I just talked to him last night, and I was like, "Hey, he's taking a summer class. How's the class?" He's like, "Oh, I got an A." He's like, "By the way, thank you. Hey, thanks for teaching me that stuff." And I was like, can you say that again? Right. But it is amazing. And, I think so much of it is not being afraid of it, just kind of getting your hands, dirty with it a little bit, so to speak. But it is going to be amazing to see. It's not going to, I don't view it as something that's going to replace, substantial human, capital into workforces. It's just going to make us better. Our output, is going to be so much better. But
yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
Well, let me ask you this before we get going here. What is it that you enjoy the most about what you do, whether it's in business or in personal?
Oh, wow.
I know. It's a loop.
There is, I don't know the exact number on it, Terrence, right now, but let's just say that there's somewhere north of 7 billion people in this world. And I just love meeting people, and I want to meet as many new people and create as many new friends as I possibly can, while I'm here on this earth. And I just love people. I'm getting ready to go to the beach in a couple of weeks, and if I wasn't getting thrown in jail, or I would just love to stop people on the beach, tap them on the shoulder, and say, you know what do you do for a living? What do you like to do when you're not doing that job. I just love to hear all the different jobs and all, because there are jobs out there. I mean, I've been on this planet for almost 60 years. There are jobs out there that I never ever knew that existed, and they're really cool. I love to hear about them. So I just love meeting, new people, and I do everything I can to meet new people every day.
Well, from that standpoint, technology is a boon, right? Because back when you and I first came into the business world, right, this is the sort of stuff that was on cartoons, right? It wasn't anything that we ever probably envisioned, but it gives us the ability to meet more people in a faster, efficient way, and to establish relationships, much like you and I are here today, myself in Boise, Idaho, and you in Lexington, Kentucky. So
Yep.
from that standpoint, I would chalk up technology as a win in that category. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I love LinkedIn because back in the day, a lot of people probably never heard this term, but back years ago, people would have pen pals. They would find somebody that they had never met, or maybe they met them once, and they would write to each other. They'd write letters and put letters in the mail. What I love about LinkedIn is that you can meet people on LinkedIn and, hey, I want to connect with you. Hey, great to connect with you. And they're kind of like, it's kind of like the digital pen pal, right? I've never met them, but I saw their profile on LinkedIn, and we have commonalities in what we do, and hey, let's just connect and stay in touch, and every now and then say hello to each other.
yeah,
And if you have a milestone, I'm going to send you a little thumbs up. So I love it.
yep.
Yes.
This is the good part of social media and technology that's advancing, right? I think lately social media gets such a bad rap for it, but allowing
Yeah.
us humans to connect more, in a more personal manner, it can't be anything but beneficial. So speaking of LinkedIn, where as we wrap up here, where can folks follow you, connect with you, Kerry, on LinkedIn, and then where can they learn more about Foursquare?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn. If you would like to connect, I would love to connect with you. You can also, Foursquare, we are on LinkedIn as well. If you want to learn more about Foursquare, you just simply go to fourthsquare.com. And, if you want to learn more about us, you want us to contact you, we have a contact page, but you can see everything that we do. Like I said, we're a full service Oracle partner. Plus, we have a tremendous data practice, and we do have a strong staffing practice. So if you have any staffing needs, we can. And it doesn't have to be Oracle. Our staffing and our data practice, we are vendor and agnostic in that regard. So yeah, just if you need anything, just let us know. We'd love to help.
We'll make sure and put the links both to your website and your LinkedIn profile on the show notes here. But I'm grateful to have you comment on today. I'm grateful that we're now a connection, right? And
Absolutely.
that we've now established this. So, but thank you very much for coming on and sharing your thoughts today. And I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Absolutely. And I love Boise. Go Broncos.
I'll give you one back. Go Wildcats. If you're in Lexington, Kentucky, you've got to be in
That's right.
Wildcat country. So
That's right.
good deal. Well, thanks again, Kerry.
All right. Thank you, Terrence. Take care.